All right, it is Christmas break, so I've got a week off from the day job, meaning I've got some time to get some work done on the project hatchback. So if you saw my other video, I picked up a bunch of like really sweet parts for this car. I already got the side skirts pretty much mounted. The front bumper is like halfway mounted. I had to redo these bumper tabs because they were busted off, so I fiberglassed some new bumper tabs on there. I got the Levin hood bolted on. There used to be a tow hook there on that strut tower, and I cut it off and ground it down, which was good. There was some rust behind it, so it's a good thing I cut it off. And then you can also see that, you know, there's a lot less plasti dip in here as there was before. So the plasti dip isn't completely gone. You can see it's still like melted into the paint in a few spots, unfortunately. And, you know, there's still some bits here and there. I mean, I tried using gasoline because I was told that works really well. It did not work very well. And then I also used the dip dissolver stuff, and that kind of worked okay, but not great. So I wonder if it wasn't actually plasti dip, I wonder if it was like rubberized undercoating or something like that they sprayed in here. But you can see that when some of the stitch welding was done, it wasn't really cleaned up very well afterwards. You can see there's some splatter there, so that wasn't as visible before. And now I can see it like everywhere, so it's okay. Pretty much what this means is I'm gonna end up doing some sandblasting in the engine bay to get it cleaned up. But now, since I have time off from work, I'm gonna make some progress on getting that moved from the parts car over into here. So to start with, you know, as you've seen in my other videos, one of the common things when you put a beams in is subframe spacer, so that's what these guys are. Got some JSP Fab 1-inch subframe spacers. I also have the tension rod bracket spacers, so that way it'll help, I don't know, keep the suspension geometry better or whatever, or matching. So what I gotta do is I have to pull this engine out, swap the mounts over, because this one is using the Alteza mounts on the subframe there, which I don't really care for that. I mean, it's okay. I prefer to use the AE86 mounts. And the other thing I'm not sure about is I have Cusco motor mounts, and you can see the bolts are offset a little bit, so that actually lowers the engine. I don't know if that means the engine will clear the steering rack and the subframe or not, so I've kind of got to do a bunch of test fit, but just to start with, I've got to get the subframe spacers on, so that's what I'm going to do now. All right, looks like it's about to start raining. As you can see, it's nice and cloudy. It's dark over there. Heard some thunder, so I got most of the way down to the subframe spacers, kind of hit a snag. So you can see it comes with new bolts, right? So here's your subframe. The spacer goes between the subframe and the frame. New hardware for the longer, yes, because it's got to go an extra inch. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth bolt wouldn't go in. So my other video, I showed that this is the frame rail here, and it's bulged out. So I know that there was some damage that probably pushed the frame rail kind of funny over here. I was hoping it wasn't going to be a big deal, but as I was trying to get the subframe bolted in, let me show you from the bottom, I noticed that I couldn't get this bolt to line up no matter what I did. Normally you just loosen the other bolts and kind of use a pry bar and move the subframe around, but that's pretty far out. That's about, what, half an inch? Maybe not half an inch, quarter of an inch out, so that frame rail is bent. I'm going to have to take it to a body shop to put it on a frame machine like I thought I was going to. And you can see here in the wheel wells, so back there you can see it's been hammered, and up there there's a little snag, kind of a dealio, like right there. It's pretty much the same thing on the other side. So I figured I was gonna have to take this to a body shop to have them put on a frame rack or whatever, but I was hoping I really wouldn't have to do that before I can get everything bolted up, but it looks like I'm gonna. You know, I've got 3 bolts in. That's okay. One thing I'm also gonna have to do is I need to get a new intermediate shaft for the steering, because that's a power steering setup, and as you can see, it's just not quite long enough to reach the steering rack. Okay, well, at least that's done. Now it's a matter of pulling this engine out, bolting up all the other mounts. Oh, tension rods. I probably needed the tension rod bracket spacers too. Hopefully that all lines up. I have some performance tension rod brackets and tension rods to put on when I do that. So I should probably get those down and get them out and ready now. So these are the tension rods and tension rod brackets I am replacing the stock ones with. Typically, I'm pretty good about buying name brand parts. I don't like supporting off-brand or replica companies because it takes away from the companies that actually do all the hard work of research and development. But I bought 3 sets of these for like half the price of they normally go for just one. An eBay seller just had them listed super cheap, and I just was like, okay, might as well try them for that price. Like, I can't even get the materials to try and make these for how cheap they were. So I figured, now I'll just jump on it. Surprisingly, you know, I have them on my drift car. They've been holding up pretty well, so I figure I'd toss a set on this car, and then I'll have one more for spares, for backups, for if they do fall apart or whatever. All right, let's get those on the car now. All right, out with the old, in with the new. It definitely started raining, so I want to hurry and do this before I get soaked. As you can see, I am soaking wet. As I was in the middle of getting everything on, I got the brackets on. Didn't get the tension rods on yet. I was so close. And I started pouring rain, and I was like, nah, maybe I'll work through it. And then I got a notification on my phone saying, tornado warning until 10 p.m. tonight. So, you know, I had to bring in a bunch of stuff I had sitting outside. 2 Torino hoods, spare hatch, bumpers. I left the hatchback sitting on jack stands, but I got all the hardware and stuff out. I strapped the hood down with the ratchet strap there. Now I wait things out. Hopefully a tornado doesn't hit us. Well, that was fun. A couple days later now, it's a little colder, hence the jacket. Probably about 50 degrees, which still isn't too bad, but it's cold here for South Carolina. But now we're finally gonna get these tension rods bolted up and maybe get the engine in. I don't know yet. Tension rods are all bolted up now. So got that done. They're sort of adjusted. I just matched side to side. The other thing that I did was I got this engine ready to pull. So drain the coolant, oil, transmission fluid. I'm gonna pull the engine and transmission together. Got all the electrical connections disconnected. Got the fuel lines disconnected. Got everything disconnected and ready to go. I think that the previous owner put the engine in from the bottom. I don't have the ability to do that or to drop it out the bottom here in my garage. So unfortunately that means I'm gonna have to cut some stuff on this car. The main thing that I do, and a lot of people do, is they just cut the upper radiator support. I really hate to do it, but I just don't have any other way to get this thing out. All right, we're back on day 3 working on this thing. No more tornadoes. It's a little warmer today. The goal for today is just to get the engine finally into that car. So to do that, I've got to unbolt the Altezza mounts, the motor mounts anyway, get rid of the motor mounts, and then also get rid of this. This is a mount that the previous owner made. It's not bad, but I've got the JSP Fab one, so we're just gonna put that on so we can have all JSP stuff. Another thing that I have that I'm really excited about, because I've never had one of these before, is a shifter relocation kit. So this is from JSP, once again, because I just like JSP stuff, I guess. So what this does is it relocates the shifter forward to here, which is great because the factory shifter position is really far back, right? So the JSP one moves it really far forward. The other thing here, so it's pretty much to do that, you just have to unbolt the shifter, I don't know, the shifter stand mount thing, whatever. You get rid of this, you put this on there, you bolt on a couple extra pieces, and you're good to go. So JSP has a video on how to install it. I'll put that video, I'll put that down below in the description section. We're gonna get that bolted on, get the transmission mount bracket bolted on, get the motor mount bracket bolted on, and then hopefully be ready to stuff it in that car. The one thing I'm worried about is that, you know, pretty much whenever you're putting one of these in to an AE86, you actually have to lower the subframe more to get the engine past the steering rack. And the reason for that is this transmission is just ginormous, right? So the previous owner of this one actually chopped off the bottom section here of the upper oil sump, which normally what I do is I just trim the webbing. This guy just hacked off the whole back of it, so it's actually missing 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts to hold the transmission to the engine. So 4 bell housing bolts are missing because the, you know, that whole section of the upper oil sump has been hacked off. It's not how I would have done, it's not how I normally do it, but hey, we'll see how long it holds up. I've got a spare motor just in case. There are a bunch of reasons why I like JSP Fab products. A lot of them, you know, they're really well thought out, really well, I think, engineered and put together, and especially these mount brackets. So these are Cusco motor mounts. Like I said earlier, that actually make the engine sit down a little bit further. But I've got it bolted up to the JSP Fab. You see the JSP logo there, these brackets, and they're slotted. The motor mounts as well as the transmission mount, they're all slotted. Having those slots is great because you can slide the engine forward or back depending on your chassis and how you have things set up. Here I don't have the bracket bolted on this side, but you can see the slots there on this bracket here. So I'm gonna get this last motor mount hand tight, not all the way tight. That way when I get the engine and transmission set in the vehicle, I can slide it forward and back and get it to where I want it to be. Okay, engine is in. I didn't quite bolt it down. I left it loose because I'm planning on taking this back out again at some point, but I've got the engine slid all the way forward and you can see how much room there is back there. That's pretty amazing. But I have a feeling it's going to touch on the hood, so we're going to check that real quick. It's one of the problems with beams. They're just so dang tall. So I will probably have to push the engine further back, which is okay. I have the room to do it. I just didn't, I guess I didn't want to do it just yet. Let's see. Will it close? Oh my gosh. And there is room. Not much, but it's there. That's fantastic. There's whoo, less than 1 finger there. And just about the same over there by the strut towers. I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna put a strut tower brace on, but man, that's a snug fit there. So we'll do that now. I'll get the strut tower brace on because somebody's asking me if you could fit a T3 tri whatever strut tower brace, and I have one with ITBs, so I'm also gonna bolt the ITBs on. This is a setup I've dreamed about for like, I don't know, several years. I've had these ITBs sitting in my garage on my shelf over there for like a year and a half. I was planning on putting on a drift car, but then I got the supercharger, so I was like, maybe not. So yeah, now I have ITBs on this car. I still need to get a standalone ECU and a wiring harness for this, so, but now that ITBs are on, it's time to see if the strut tower brace fits. Strut tower brace is mounted. I'll tell you what, this is a tight fit. I mean, the clearance between these nuts and that bracket is pretty much non-existent. This plate also didn't actually line up. It was close, but off just enough that I had to hammer it, and I really probably should have drilled out the bolt holes a little bit to make it line up instead of hammering it, but I'm not super worried about these strut mounts. I've got some camber plates on here, and whenever I put coilovers on here, it'll have new camber plates anyway. All right, so look how close that is. I mean, we got millimeters of clearance between that brace and that stack. This one, there's quite a bit more. I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit a filter on here, unfortunately. With these stacks, I'll have to go to shorter stacks to fit a filter. I'll have to rethink about that. I was planning on running like either a Piper Cross big log filter that goes over all of the velocity stacks. You know, I know a lot of people use those internal screens, but they don't really filter much, and all they do is obstruct airflow. They're really a bad design. So I want to get a big filter element to go over the stacks, but that's just gonna be really tight with a strut tower brace. I just don't know if that's going to be possible, or if I'm going to have to switch to shorter stacks. Okay, enough talking. Let's close the hood and see how close it fits. All right, closing the hood. Ooh, that is so tight. Like, but that clears, which is fantastic. This project is really coming along. I was going to show you the JSP Fab shifter relocation kit, but I ran into a little bit of a snag. So you can at least see it's going to put the shifter here, whereas without the shifter relocation kit, it'd be somewhere right about here. You can see that this trans tunnel is modified a little bit for a different swap. This used to have a 4G63 in it. So the snag I ran into is there are these little roll pins, large roll pins that normally stay in the shifter. Well, they're stuck in the transmission, and you can see I was a little deformed. I had a little issue trying to get them out. So I'm gonna rethink things on that and let it sit. But yeah, you can see the JSP Fab kit at least puts it in the factory shifter location. Engine is in, mounts are in. The Cusco mounts with the JSP Fab mount kit was actually a really good choice. I lowered the engine just a smidge more. If I didn't have those Cusco mounts, there's no way this tri-strut tower brace would have fit with the ITBs. All right, that's it for this video. In the next one, I'll probably be doing the interior stuff. I've got a frame rail to fix, or a chassis brace, whatever to fix. So I'll probably hammer that down and start getting the rest of the interior ready, probably primered and painted, and start putting the interior stuff inside of it. And that way I'll see what else I have left. And I'll also probably get rid of this parts car. I don't know what else I need from it except for interior bits. I'll probably start cutting it up for drift spares. I don't think there's anything else I have to do with it. All right, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share all of that stuff. If you've enjoyed this build or you're enjoying this build, let me know. If you got questions, once again, let me know. Thanks, and I guess I'll see you next time.